All right, let's just jump right in. We're going to talk about a book that is, well, pretty legendary and honestly super controversial. I'm talking about Robert Greene's The 48 Laws of Power. You've probably heard of it. Some people call it a masterpiece of strategy. Others say it's basically a handbook for sociopaths. And some just see it as this essential guide for, getting by in the world. So, what's the real story here? The whole book kicks off with this really powerful idea. Is power a game? And if it is, do you even know the rules? The book's big claim is that power isn't just some random thing. Nope, it's a game with very specific, unspoken rules that people have been playing for like thousands of years. And here's the kicker. Whether you want to play or not, you're already in the game. It's happening all around us. What Greene says he's doing is finally handing you the rulebook. So we got to be really clear about the approach here. The book calls itself an amoral guide. Now, that doesn't mean immoral. It's not telling you to be evil. It means the laws are just presented as strategic facts, totally separate from good or bad. It looks at power the way a scientist would look at gravity, just observing how it works, not judging whether it should work that way. And this quote from Machiavelli, it just perfectly sets the tone. This is the core worldview of the book. It's a pragmatic, maybe even cynical way of looking at human psychology. To get a handle on power, the book argues, you first have to get a handle on people, our wants, our egos, and our incredible willingness to believe whatever we want to believe. Okay, so let's get into our first big principle, and it's all about perception. Law number 6 says you have to court attention at all costs. In the game of power, being ignored is basically like being invisible or dead. What people think they see, what they believe about you, that's often way more powerful than what's actually true. It's all about taking control of that narrative. And who's the perfect example of this? The master showman himself, P.T. Barnum. This guy got it. Being talked about was everything. He literally didn't care if people were saying good things or bad things. He'd even write nasty articles about his own shows and publish them anonymously just to stir up controversy and get his name out there. Because any attention keeps you in the spotlight. But getting attention isn't always about being the loudest person in the room, like Barnum. There's another way to do it, a much sneakier, more subtle way. And this is especially true when you're dealing with someone above you, a boss or a patron whose ego you absolutely cannot afford to bruise. And this story, it's just brilliant, right? Michelangelo knew the nose was perfect. But arguing with his powerful patron, a guy who prided himself on his artistic taste, that's just career suicide. You don't do that. So what does he do? He creates the illusion of fixing it. He climbs up the ladder, pretends to tap away at it, and lets a little marble dust he hid in his hand fall to the floor. He doesn't touch the statue. He just changes the patron's perception. Think about that. He keeps his boss happy, he saves his masterpiece, and he avoids a totally useless fight. That whole idea of subtlety leads us right into our next big principle, the power of doing things indirectly. The book says over and over again that using brute force is for amateurs. The real masters of power use psychology, cleverness, and misdirection. And one of the best tools for that is what Law 12 calls selective honesty. And you're not going to find a better example than this one. Just imagine the guts. This guy, Count Victor Lustig, a legendary con artist, decides his next mark is going to be Al Capone. Al Capone, a man who would have you killed for spilling his drink. A direct scam would be a death sentence, so Lustig knew he had to play it smart. Now just watch how this plays out. The whole thing hinges on step 3. Lustig comes back, head down, and says, I failed. Then he hands back every single penny of the original 50 grand. This one act of what looks like honesty completely disarms Capone. Capone's a gangster. He expects everyone to be a crook. So when Lustig is honest, Capone is floored. He thinks, wow, an honest man. And in that moment, he lets his guard down, and Lustig walks away with 5 grand, which was his real goal all along. This brings us to probably the darkest, but also maybe the most insightful part of the book, exploiting the basics of human nature. Law 33 is all about finding what makes someone tick, their secret vulnerability, or what the book calls their thumbscrew. So what is a thumbscrew? It's not about blackmail. It's not a physical threat. It's an emotional lever. It's that deep down insecurity someone has, their endless need for approval, or a secret pleasure they just can't resist. And if you can figure out what that is, you can basically understand and even predict what they're going to do. So, how do you even spot something like that? The book says to look for clues. Pay attention when a grown-up starts acting like a kid. That's a huge red flag for a deep-seated need. But here's why this is so important. This isn't just about manipulating other people. It's about knowing yourself. If you can figure out your own thumbscrews, your own insecurities, that's your best defense against someone else using them against you. And this points to another human weakness the laws love to exploit. See, most people don't want to hear about slow, steady, difficult progress. We're wired to want the fantasy. We want the miracle cure, the overnight success story, the get-rich-quick scheme. The person who can sell that dream, who can promise that huge, sudden transformation, that person has immense power. Recognizing this in ourselves can make us a little more skeptical of all the promises we're sold every single day. So, after all this, what do we do with this information? It's pretty easy to see why this book gets people so riled up. This knowledge is a tool, and like any powerful tool, you can use it to build things up, or you can use it to tear them down. I think the important thing to remember is this. The book didn't invent any of this stuff. It's just observing and collecting thousands of years of human history, from kings and queens to con artists and CEOs. It's showing us a world where power dynamics are always in play, and understanding the strategy is, well, everything. And that kind of leaves us here with the big question, doesn't it? Is this book just a dark manual for manipulators? Or, in a world where these power plays are happening every single day, whether we like it or not, is knowing the rules your only real defense? The book won't give you that answer. That one's up to you.